Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse here, and I am back for kind of another event video because today has been quite the busy day. Busy day at work, but also lots of stuff happening in the tech and gaming world today. So, just wanted to talk and give my thoughts on a few of that stuff today and cover a couple things that I missed during the last update video that I did a week or two ago. And just let you guys know of some other stuff that is coming up, not both on the channel and just, events in general. Because, like I said, while we usually have E3 most years, and there's a big old, series of videos for that, we didn't have E3 this year, so everything has been scattered over the summer, and the summer of gaming is done. But boy, September, we had event. And yesterday's Apple event. Good Lord. Yeah, so tons to talk about today. We'll just get right into it. Like I said, I did just do a channel update video knowing that there were going to be more events, but I wasn't going to wait and pile them on till the end of the month or next month so that people could kind of know a little bit more about what's going on. So where to begin? Just a quick note about the channel. If you are new, I do unlock videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Wednesday and Saturdays are the kind of regular variety of content for the channel, just a little bit of everything. And Mondays are reserved primarily for Mixer and now Twitch stream archives. And everything is in playlists, so definitely feel free to check things out and see what kind of content is most interesting to you. And thank you for stopping by and subscribing to the channel. So let's just start in order, I guess. So right after I recorded the video, like I said, it's just been a blur. I can't even remember. A week or two ago, Nintendo went and pulled an early morning update and went, oh yeah, everyone has their news. Microsoft did. Well, we're going to do a quick little Nintendo video. And they announced a Hyrule Warriors game set in the Breath of the Wild universe. It is a prequel to Breath of the Wild that goes through the Calamity War that kind of kick off the events of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And, if it's talking about, if the story is focusing on the big war that, caused all these events to happen, it kind of does make sense for it to be a Hyrule Warriors, your typical Dynasty Warriors-esque game where you're fighting gazillions of soldiers and monsters and whatnot all at once. And it kind of made me, I do own the original Hyrule Warriors, what do they call it, like Complete Edition or whatever it is that came out on the Switch. Played it a little bit, but hadn't gotten too far, and so I've kind of just been kicking back on my couch a couple nights this last week, and I've been playing through a little bit more of the Switch Hyrule Warriors, and overall it's not bad. I mean, it is fun. It's definitely a different kind of a style, different take on a Zelda franchise game. You have things like this. You have that Crypt of the Necrodancer game that came out last year that had the Zelda stuff that I also am very terrible at, but need to give another shot. As far as Hyrule Warriors go, I like it, and especially with the magnifier that you have in the Switch now, it's a lot more helpful to read some of that text. I do wish they didn't rely on the mini-map more. Like, occasionally you will get little arrows pointing you to a critical objective, and I don't know what causes that. There's like a little white arrow, almost like you would see in The Last of Us, that it's like right by your character, and it points you the direction to go. But it's not often enough. I wish I tried like clicking all the sticks and hitting the buttons, and I don't think there's really a way to make that come up on demand. But rather than having to look at this tiny mini map or pause the screen, and honestly, Even the map on the pause screen is not really that great. It's a little hard for me to see some of the detail there. So like, I would just love to be like, you don't have to tell me exactly where to go, but just point me in the direction, because you're in these sort of open environments, and you can kind of get lost a little bit, and especially some of the objectives are time sensitive, so you want to get to them as quickly as you can. But I am having fun with it, and I probably will check out Hyrule Warriors, coming out in November 20th, I believe. And of course, we have Mario 3D All-Stars coming out later this week already, believe it or not. Good Lord. So, I might check that out. I talked a little bit about that last week and their ridiculous idea of, hey, let's have a limited release for a digital game. Yeah, that's a good idea. But yeah, no, it isn't, but whatever. And then yesterday, Apple. So they did their September event the way they usually do, but it had nothing to do with iPhone. This time it was all about the Apple Watch and iPad. So I wondered what they were going to do with iPad, since they just released the iPad Pro earlier this year. I'm like, God, they can't do another one. They can't pull what they did with... There was like an iPad 3rd gen, and then there was like a new iPad or something right around, like, it was like literally 3 or 4 months later, and a lot of people were pissed. I remember that because a coworker bought like the 3rd generation, and then literally a couple months later is like, oh, they released a new one that's like actually way better. And he's like, really, guys? Not cool. But I don't know. I mean, it wasn't a bad event, but it wasn't anything really special. They focus a lot on the Apple Watch and health. So you have a new sensor in the Apple Watch 6, and it's this blood oxygen sensor that can actually really help if you get it can help with like symptoms for COVID, but other things as well. I was almost kind of hoping that they would have like a temperature sensor in there. I wish they would add that, because just being able to have like a thermometer, that kind of a thing, where they say, oh, if you have a fever or your temperature rises, that kind of a thing, that could be pretty helpful through their conduction sensors, but they didn't add that. And then they announced the Apple Watch SE, which kind of is in between the 3rd generation and the 6th generation. To me, it almost seems like it's closer to the 6th generation. It doesn't have the new sensor in it, the oxygen sensor, but it has most everything with it, and it's like under $300. So you could get an actual, more modern spec Apple Watch. Did I say iPhone? I apologize if I've been saying iPhone. It's been a long, busy day. If I said iPhone, I apologize. But the Apple Watch, the SE, it looks closer to the Apple Watch 6, just minus a few specs and a few features. But it is a lot more affordable. And I have the Series 4, and to me, there's nothing really in the 6. I didn't really need the 5 either. Yeah, it had this always-on screen thing, but the battery life doesn't seem to have improved or anything like that. It's a little faster processor, but, I mean, for what I have and the way I use my watch, it works fine, and I literally just got it updated to watchOS 7 just before recording this video, so I just put it on here a few minutes ago. But as long as it doesn't really slow, as long as the new OS update doesn't really slow down my watch, I'm fine. I think I'm just going to stick with the 4 and not have to worry about upgrading. We got new band options. There's actually this new band where, I'm using this Milanese, or however you say it, this loop, which I like. It's very comfortable. It's got this magnetic loop I showed you in my Apple Watch review for the 4th generation version. But now they have this watch band where it's all one piece. You don't have any overlapping thing. It's more of like a stretchy watch band. They got like different sizes that you can get. It kind of reminds me of, I mean, they're more solid. They're not like in these little segments, like, you know, those metal watch bands that were kind of stretchy. But they were all these little linked segments that I used to play with in class when I had a watch, and then I would always end up breaking them because I would play with it and end up breaking one of the connectors and have to get a new band. But I don't know how much those bands are going to be, but if they're first party, odds are they're going to be really expensive because, like I said, I got my Apple Watch and I looked at getting the loop, and I looked at it and they said $150. I'm like, are you high? Absolutely not. Went to Amazon and found one that looked like pretty much just as good for like $8-10. So, and it's worked great. So I don't know what the prices are going to be, but I'm guessing there's going to be third-party knockoffs sooner rather than later. They are also having, like I said, a focus on fitness. This Apple Fitness Plus, which is this $9.99 a month service that you can subscribe to later this year, where everything, it's kind of a connectivity between your phone, your tablet, your Apple TV, and your watch, because your watch will track all of your vitals and stuff like that, or your, you know, all your health data, and display it for you on your tablet or your TV, wherever you're doing your workout. And in theory, it's kind of cool. Like if you like to work out and you want to track that kind of a thing, it is kind of neat. I mean, I like the idea. But the problem that I've always had with a lot of these exercise things, they're so focused on visuals. They're like, oh, do this thing, watch me and do this thing. Well, if you're low vision or blind, you almost really have to have a different style or a really well descriptive narrator or exercise coach, because a lot of that stuff is like, I don't know how I'm supposed to be standing or sitting or moving. So I don't know that it's going to be all that appealing. You know, I mean, Lord knows I should and would like to do more different types of exercises and stretches and stuff, just to, you know, I'm not going out near as much, and, you know, in general, just to, you know, attempt some exercising more. But it's a neat idea, and for the right people, especially who have multiple iOS devices and are into fitness and stuff like that, it's a good thing. Accessibility-wise, I'm not sure. I'm sure the apps will work okay, but as far as the training, the video content itself, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But then they did also announce, speaking of services, the Fitness Plus, they have Apple One, which is a 3-tiered thing. You can get an individual, a family, or like the all-in plan, and it goes from, I forget what it is, it's like 15, it's like somewhere between like 15 and then 20 and 24 or something a month. And like the first one focuses, it's just for an individual, and you get like the 4 services. You get like music, TV, Apple Arcade, and a little bit of some extra iCloud storage. All of them have iCloud storage. The next one up is more for families, and it's kind of the same thing. And then the All Access one, you get all of their services. So then it adds on Apple News Plus and Apple Fitness Plus. So if you want to bundle everything together, it's probably not that bad of a deal. But I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to necessarily do it. I had access to an Apple Music for a little while, and I saw it like when Riley was up here, and it's okay. But I have Amazon, I have my Google Music or YouTube Music, as it's going to be now, because Google Music is going away. Boo. But so they have those services. Otherwise, like the watch itself, new watch faces, of course. I'm not sure how interested I'll be in some of that, but, you know, that's a thing. But honestly, it was really focused on fitness quite a bit. which is not fitness and health, which is not a bad thing. I mean, like I said, if you can have, if they could add like a temperature sensor, like so you could kind of do like a thermometer sort of a thing. Somebody else was mentioning another sensor that wouldn't be a bad idea, and I forgot what it was. But like, they could, I don't know if they could, how they would do it, but if they can cram like one or two more sensors in there and just have this kind of all-in-one health device, that would be kind of neat. And the cool thing, speaking of health, that they did talk about is now they have this this family sharing thing where you don't. This might be the start of untethering the watch from a phone. So what they were saying is, if you have a kid or let's say an elderly family member who you want to kind of take care of, maybe you have an elder, like you have a parent or something that, or a grandparent that, you want to have them have a watch so they have the fall detection thing and the emergency contact stuff. If you get a cellular Apple Watch, you can actually use your phone and then set up their watch, and they don't have to. You can you set it up and manage it from your phone, but it's not actually yours. They will get their own number, but they won't have to have a phone. So if you want it for these health reasons, let's say, it's a cool idea, or tracking your kids, making sure they get home safely or get to where they say where they say they are, that kind of a thing. Those are the types of things that they were showing off that you could do with that. And that's not a bad idea. And if they're going that far right now, like I said, maybe, and I'm sure it'll take them a couple of years because they're a little slow on this kind of thing. But now that they're trying it in stages, maybe we'll get to a point where you can, because before we always have to connect our phones to our computers and update everything through iTunes. Now we can just update everything over the air. And if you have Wi-Fi or even cellular, I don't see why you couldn't do the same thing with the watch. I mean, it does so many other crazy things, so why not? And then they talked about their iPads. So now we have a lot of different iPad models. They had that new iPad last year, 2019. I did a short video of it on the channel because Riley had gotten one, and she's like, yeah, you can use it to do a video, show people. So I did. But they're basically releasing another model of that, and I think it's like, was it $349 or something like that? And it's just a spec bump. It's a thin, it's small. It's the 10.6 inch tablet. Pretty similar to last year, but just a little bit of a spec bump. It works with Apple Pencil and their new keyboards and stuff like that. And then they have the new iPad Air, which actually is not a bad, if you don't care about having the big old 12.9 inch iSlab model. Honestly, the iPad Air seems like a pretty good deal. They don't have the faster refresh rate screen, the 120 hertz display that the new Pros do, but it's got a good screen on it, and it pretty much has the same specs as the 2020 iPad Pro. I mean, they borrowed a lot of there's a little bit of a different processor, but they're actually, we won't know until we get the full reviews and stuff, but like some places are saying that even just like a raw benchmarks, some of the different processor, this A14 processor that they have in there is actually numerically a little bit better than the one they had in their Pro that they released in like March this year, which is kind of funny. Their camera seems pretty decent. I think if I remember, I looked at the images and it seemed like it had a flash. So if somebody was wanting to use it as a low vision magnification tool, like a CCTV with the magnifier app, you could do that, or for OCR, or even just taking pictures or video. It should be decent enough for that. And it just seems like a really good display. Now, here's the other really interesting thing about the iPad Air. And I hope to God it's a sign of things to come. A thing that they just kind of threw in there. They're like, oh yeah, and by the way, we know that the home button was taking up a lot of space. So we kind of wanted to make it more like your iPad Pro design where you get rid of the home button. You've got more edge-to-edge display. So instead of Face ID, they put Touch ID into the power button, the lock button. Yeah, Touch ID is still there, and it's in the power button. It's the first time they've done that, putting it on one of the side buttons. I mean, I know Android phones have been doing it for eons now, but, you know, Apple is slow to catch on to these type of things. So they're doing that, but like I said, if they're doing that, I can't help but wonder and hope that next year's iPad Pro will have a similar thing. Especially when, you know, we're living in a post-pandemic world and everybody's wearing masks. It's just easier to put your hand on the button and unlock it. Not to mention, like, I don't mind Face ID on a phone so much because you're typically holding it in front of you anyway and looking at it. But the larger screen of the iPads, Face ID is just awkward, especially if you're trying to do it you're using it in landscape. You know, you kind of got to look to the side a little bit, and it's just, you never quite know. I don't know. I just don't find Touch ID or Face ID as usable. It's fine, but I just don't like it near as much on the tablets, and so I would love to see Touch ID in the lock/power button on both future iPhones and iPads. RIP Face ID. Or you can have both. Android phones have had both for years as well. You know, and that would be nice. In the wintertime, when it's freezing cold, I don't have to take my gloves off. I could use Face ID if I wanted. But any other time, if I wanted, I pick the thing up and just use my finger. So, you know, but that would actually make sense. So Apple probably won't do it. You know how it is. And with the iPad Air, they're also adding USB-C. So yeah, they're going more USB-C. We'll have to see what the iPhones later this year are going to do. But yeah, it seems like they're slowly starting to kind of get rid of Lightning. And that's kind of the Apple event. And then they said that iOS 14 was coming out literally the next day, aka today as I'm recording this, Wednesday. And it is out. I've been using the iPadOS beta for a couple months now, since July, and overall it seems pretty solid. I really like the new magnifier changes that they made. Not the zoom, not for zooming into the screen, but the actual magnifier that you use for a CCTV. And that app is really cool, and I was really curious to see how it would work on the phone. So I took a look at that briefly on my phone before recording this video as well. And it's cool because remember, one of the complaints that I had was that the sliders and the buttons, the user interface was always taking up a good chunk of the side of the screen, and you couldn't really hide it. Well, you can't hide it completely, but now you can if you want to. You can not only hide a row or two of the controls, so it's just basically a thin little control area on the side, which doesn't take up much room at all. But then you can also customize what you want on that primary. You have primary and secondary controls, as they call them. So what I did is I took the size, you know, the zoom slider. I took that off the primary because I don't need that. All I need to do is pinch and zoom. I can do that right on the image itself. So I took that away, and I added the color filters right there. So then all I have to do is tap, and I can change, you know, white on black, black and white, yellow on blue, whatever. And then I have the flash, so I can turn the flash on and off. And now all the other buttons that I rarely use are just out of the way, and now I just have this thin line of controls for my magnifier, and I gain back a decent amount of screen space back. And this will be especially useful for people who are running maybe a smaller phone like the iPhone SE, or even the ones that aren't Pro or Plus size phones. But even if they are, you just get that extra screen space back, which I really like. So cool. I'm glad they fixed that. I don't know that I'm going to do a full iOS 14 video just because I was looking through the settings, even accessibility stuff. And I know some of the new things that are in there, but I honestly they're blurring together. The last couple of years, I don't even remember what's new and what's some stuff is new, some stuff is changed or reorganized and things like that. Definitely go check out appleviz.com. They do a great job, and there'll be other podcasts about it. But for low vision, magnifier is definitely a cool thing. And there's a new description under VoiceOver. There's a description setting where you can have it describe images. And I found even in the betas on the iPad, flicking through my Twitter feed, it was kind of cool because some of the screen, they would have a post and it would be one of those little quote things or whatever, and they would just post a screenshot of it. And it didn't work all the time, but a good chunk of the time it would actually just read those. I wouldn't have to try to dump those out to Seeing AI or anything like that. So if you turn that feature on, that's kind of a neat thing. And you can also try to describe pictures if you turn that on the web and some apps. So I don't know. I mean, I use it a bit on the iPad, but I'll use it even more on the phone, and I'll let you guys know what I think of that. So those are a couple of the main new iOS 14 features that I think are pretty cool from an accessibility standpoint. The whole widgets thing and I forget what they call the other, that last home screen thing. I don't know that I'll use that a lot. I already have my stuff in folders and things like that, so I don't really need that. But, whatever, it's there. I'll probably look at the widgets eventually. But that's Apple. Spent quite a bit of time on that, but a lot of stuff to cover. Not bad, but nothing I'm going to run out and buy. And the new phones, we'll just have to see what they are. I mean, I really like my XS Max, and I don't know. It really depends on how expensive and what kind of features these iPhone 12s are going to have. So we'll see probably next month. Then around noon today, we had the Facebook Connect. It's not Oculus Connect because now it's Facebook Connect because, Facebook. Ugh. And the big news that we already pretty much knew, they announced the Quest 2, as it were, which I really have mixed feelings on. Let me switch tabs here. Here's a picture of it. I have the Oculus page up here. They switched it to white instead of a dark design, which I've always liked darker stuff, especially pure white. Just you get any kind of dirt on it, it just shows. I don't really like white things all that much. And it looks like it's more of like a smooth texture. It doesn't have that nice sort of fabric texture that the original Quest did, which I really like because it was comfortable and kind of softer to hold. But they're made it cheaper. So the entry level, the 64 gigabyte one, you can get, and I want to say it was October 15th. It's $300, which for entry level VR, this is a standalone VR headset, 6 Degree of Freedom, full head tracking headset for $300 that you can use, by itself or with your PC with the Oculus, the Rift software. So it's a pretty good deal in theory. It's got a better screen. It's got a better processor. They have a 256 gigabyte option for $400. But they've made some design choice differences. And, like I said, originally I was kind of really intrigued about it because if I build a new computer or have a new computer built, either later this year or early next year, I would like to almost use a Quest or a Quest 2 instead of the Rift. I mean, I really like my Rift, but it would be really nice not to have to hook up, 13 different cables. I mean, I know it's only 3 or 4, but still, having to hook up all those cables, and I like the where on the Quest where you can just draw your play area. I like it that even making that play area is a lot more visually accessible as a low vision user than the way that the Rift originally did it. Like, I just had to guess with that. But the head strap is more of a cloth thing. They say it's supposed to be more comfortable, but I read a very interesting post that I retweeted that shout out to Joe Steinkamp, Mr. Ranger Station. I was talking with him about it on Twitter this afternoon because I was just, I kind of want one, I kind of don't. And he sent me this review that Ars Technica did, and after reading this like 3-page, quite thorough review, maybe I don't really want this headset, because in the presentation they said, oh, well, you get this, this different head strap that's this cloth one. It's supposed to be more comfortable. But Ars Technica really didn't care for it that much. And then you can buy different head straps, like a pro head strap. So basically, to make it cheaper, they cut some corners, they made the head strap cheaper, and then they just want you to piecemeal buy that stuff back. You can either get a pro strap or some battery strap to give it more battery life, because apparently, so this other article said as well, that the Quest 2's battery life is only like 2 hours if you're lucky, and like the first one you could get like 2 to 3. Like the first Quest actually had better battery life, which I find really interesting. And the other really kind of intriguing thing is they said that the tracking for the touch controllers, they've been modified a little bit, and apparently they have fewer sensors in them than the Quest 1. And they were trying things like Beat Saber and other things where they wanted to see if the tracking was as good. Facebook is saying that it's better, but they were finding, especially on higher difficulty levels, that there were missed inputs, there were missed gestures a bit more frequently and consistently with the Quest 2 than their original Quest. So I'm like, maybe they have either some software or hardware revisions that they're going to need to do for the Quest before it's even quite as good. Like, yeah, the screen is better, but they're switching from OLED, 2 OLED screens to one big LCD screen. And you just have to read that article, because they go into some really interesting pros and cons. Like I said, obviously Oculus / Facebook is trying to sell you this thing. So they're trying to it's better, it's faster, it's got new controllers, it's got this, that, and the other thing. But I'm very curious to see what other VR YouTube channels and websites and reviewers are going to say about the Quest 2, and I do follow a few of them. So this Ars Technica article was quite interesting and kind of revealed some potentially unfortunate, corners they cut in order to get that $300 price tag. I'm not saying that it's terrible, but if you already have a Quest, maybe it's not. Maybe you don't necessarily have to run out and get the new one. If you don't have a Quest already, then it might be okay. Here's the other big caveat, if you don't mind the big F, Facebook, because if you get a new Oculus device, you have to sign up with a Facebook account. You cannot just have an Oculus account like I have, and even by, 2022, my account is going to have to be rolled over into some sort of a Facebook account. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a different Facebook account. I'll use my real name and everything, because Facebook gets a little crazy about that. That was another caveat that Ars Technica article talked about. Like, if you're thinking about just making like a weird spoof account or like a a dummy account just to get the Oculus going. But it would just be exclusively what they call, a burner account, essentially. So I would just make one that's just devoted to Oculus, that I would merge my Oculus account into this other account, because I don't know. I don't want it merged with my regular Facebook account. I don't even know if I'm going to keep my other Facebook accounts, so I don't know. But that is the Quest 2. It is coming out in October, $300 and $400 respectively. Not bad. I mean, again, for entry-level VR, standalone and computer VR, yes, there are apparently some drawbacks, but, it's not bad. It's definitely, there's still a lot of good things about it. And maybe some of the stuff they can address, like the controller sensitivity, maybe they can address some of that with software updates. Who knows? But so they've got that. They did go through some games, and I found it interesting. Like Ubisoft, they were going to make a couple of games for them. Apparently, there's an Assassin's Creed game and a Splinter Cell game coming. Now, I'm not going to get too excited about either one of those, because I don't know that it's going to be, you think Assassin's Creed is this big open world. Is that really what, how big are they going to go with a VR title? And with the locomotion and, motion sensitivity options, how are you going to have a big open world? Are you going to be able to freely move about it? I don't know. Splinter Cell, you're moving around and stealthing and all kinds of cool stuff. That one might be a little bit more realistic, especially if you kind of, lock it down to like certain, you're going to infiltrate this building. And I don't know. I'm curious to see what they'll be, but, I don't know what kind of scope or scale they're going for. So, yeah. And, they talked about their, they talked about their social type of experiences and services. We're Facebook. Of course, we want to connect everybody and totally not track all of your information. Yeah, we want you to connect. We don't want to know everything about you because we want to know everything about you. No, that's not it at all. But there's this, I forget even what it's called now, but some people are in invite-only access right now. But it's this basically Facebook experience, and I guess they're adding Facebook Messenger to it, which I don't really care right now. And they talked about productivity. So they had a cool idea for this. They call it Infinite Office. And it's kind of like your virtual desktop. You're picking up your Quest 2, and you're like, oh, you start using it in the kitchen or living room, but then your family members are being noisy, so you just, you get up and you go into another quiet room, and you have your play area just set up, and like all of your monitors, your workspace, and everything just follows with you. That is a really cool thing. Like you could be in this virtual space and have 3 50-inch monitors all around you if you wanted. I guess they're working with Logitech to actually have a real keyboard. I still think it's funny that it's like, well, yeah, but you have to be able to see to type the letters. I'm like, no, you don't. You people, like, I don't care if you're sighted or blind. Learn to frickin' touch type, and then you don't have to look at the keyboard. And it's just way faster. You don't. Just learn to touch type. There's tons of free typing tutors on the web for you. There's even accessible ones. APH has got one. I did a video for it a while back. So, I don't know. I mean, they have virtual desktop already. I've played with that, and it is kind of cool. It does work with magnifier, and it does work like I've used it before, and it's kind of cool. I have not used it on the Quest because I don't know how accessible pairing it to your computer is. Be either no magnifier or screen reader on the Quest itself, but with my Rift, when it's hooked up to the PC, yeah, I can navigate a VR desktop environment, and it's kind of cool. But, again, and that was my other really hesitation, You have the Facebook thing, you have the technical issues I talked about, but then the whole just accessibility. They keep talking, oh, we're going to refresh the dashboard and we're adding a new interface for this and we're updating the look of that. And I just don't have faith yet. I don't have faith that they're even considering low vision accessibility, let alone blind accessibility. I would love to have text-to-speech support. Again, look at the video for Seeing VR, and you're being able to like navigate by keyboard or point with the touch controllers, and just like you're pointing on your phone, you could point at a button or a control or a piece of text, and it would read it aloud to you. Yeah, that would be great. But I just don't have any faith that that's coming anytime in the near future. And so it's like, I already have a Quest. I already have a Rift. Yeah, the screens might be a little more high resolution, so I might have a better prayer of reading things a little bit more clearly. But if you're not going to add any, help via magnification or speech, do I even really want to bother giving you more money for another headset until I know that at least you're trying to do that? And with these other technical issues and things, I'm not near as tempted as I was a couple days ago when I first heard about the Quest 2 potential. So, yeah. And they announced a lot of other games that are coming to the Quest 1 and 2. I really hope Dispatch does, because I would really love to show that to people. I know it's not a game, but it's really cool. They did say that Res Infinite is Actually, is that already on Quest? I forget. It's either is or coming out to Quest, and that is just a cool game that I love on the Rift. I think I did a video for it, and I was going to stream it one time, but I haven't done that yet. But there's a bunch of games that are coming. They announced a new Star Wars VR series that's on, I guess, with R2-D2 and C-3PO. And then they also talked about AR, augmented reality. They're not ready for the AR glasses yet, but they're doing like early research builds, not even prototypes, but like research builds. And then they talked about blending like VR and AR, and like there's some really neat things potentially on the road that could help with accessibility. Having glasses on and just having, let's say, navigation, just having this maybe glowy path right in front of you saying, okay, walk this way, walk that way. Or, again, if you had text to speech and like a screen reader or audio support, they talked about like you're walking through a mall or whatever, you're looking at a sign on a building or something. I could look at something, it would recognize it and go, oh, that's what this is, and show you more information about that location. But if they could also do that audibly, that would be awesome. I could just like walk down the mall with these glasses on, or walk down the road, like a strip mall where there's all these stores, shops, and then just look at a building and it would go, oh, and it would tell me that's what this store is. And I'm like, God, you know how nice that would be? That would be amazing. But we're definitely, I think, a few years out from that, but it could happen. It's just, I hope that, like I said, everything, they're all focused on visual. Look at the pretty colors, look at the avatars, look at the visiony stuff. I really wish that they would do more with audio, do more with multiple outputs, that kind of a thing. They did touch on that a little bit, where they had this example where you're in a busy coffee shop and you have a couple friends come in, but you can't hear because the whole thing is, the coffee shop is loud, but then your assistant thing could recognize that and then like, oh, okay, we'll kind of do this noise cancellation or kind of background muting. And then when your friends come up, they would, you would be able to hear them. It was a neat idea, and it'll be interesting to see where this goes in the next 5 years or so. But, nothing's quite ready for the AR stuff right now. And I, as much as I love the potential, technology-wise, I don't know that I want to put my faith in Facebook. Facebook being the company that's doing all this. I mean, right now, yes, I already have an investment in Oculus / Facebook because I bought a Rift before they were even Oculus, or before they were with Facebook. And I did just want to try a standalone VR headset, so I got a Quest before they decided to make all this Facebook stuff a lot more required. And now I own a lot of apps on both Quest and Rift platforms. So yeah, I don't know. And the funny thing is, they really didn't. The Rift is definitely. It just seems like it's on its way out. Yeah, they have the Rift S, and they may have another Rift later on. But like, I think they only said Rift twice through that whole presentation. And Facebook really didn't say it, I don't think, at all. They might have said it once. The only time Rift was even mentioned was when they had third-party developers talking about, oh, we're making this game and it's going to come to Quest and Rift. But they're clearly focusing on the Quest as their standalone and even their computer thing, because they're like, hey, you can just hook it up to a computer and use your Quest as a more powerful computer headset. So, yeah, I don't know what's really going on with the Rift these days. And even things, like I said before, things like venues, that's on the Quest, but it's not on the Rift. What if I wanted to use it on my Rift? I can't, because venues is not out on the Rift right now. And why they won't put that on the Rift is beyond me. But same thing what they used to do with Gear VR. You get some of these social and entertainment and video experiences, and they just either never would come to the actual big headset, the Rift, or they would take forever for it to happen. So, and another thing they didn't touch on that they did a couple of years ago that I still wonder, they made this big deal a couple of years ago about this Oculus education sort of a thing, which I love the idea of, because some of my favorite experiences have been these documentaries or interactive experiences where you learn stuff. The ISS space station, the Apollo 11. I mean, even this experience that I released on the channel for today, we're looking at right here, the main video right here, this traveling while black. This with all the crap that's been going on the last several years and what's happened this summer, it's extremely relevant, and just kind of putting you right in the shoes, right at the table when these people, especially that lady in the screenshot there, is talking about her experience with her kids. It can be really impactful. And especially, they kept talking about, well, we're working and schooling from home with the pandemic and blah, blah, blah. So you think they would have kicked off this? I wish there were a greater focus and and even a section in their stores more dedicated to experiences and education. They don't have, they could be passive, they could still be interactive, but yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of hoping that by now we would have a little bit more of that and maybe more variety. I mean, you can go onto the Oculus store right now, and if you want to learn about space, there's like 20 things out there, like, oh, space this, space that, space that. But, there's more to science, or there's more than education than space. There's a couple body ones out there. There's a couple different things, and some location or historical things or museums. But we've got a lot of space stuff. Let's get some other cool education stuff out there and other documentaries. I'd love to see more. I'd love to see more passive documentaries. I would actually really like to experience more of that. I know I didn't cover everything in the Oculus keynote, but it was all right. The Quest 2 definitely has potential, and I'm totally all for more people getting into virtual reality because it is cool. Yes, the longer I use it, the more frustrated I get, just because it's VR has been a thing now for like 5 years, and there's literally been crickets as far as any advancement. Yeah, we've had a couple of presentations on it here and there, but nothing has really changed or happened as a result. And so no platform has really bothered to do anything with accessibility. In really much of any form. We've got a couple of developers like Alchemy Labs, that have at least tried to do stuff with their game, and a couple of other developers. But platforms themselves, no. PlayStation, no. Steam, no. Oculus, no. So that's my main frustration. I mean, the more like there are more things that I want to do that I can't, because they're building more of these complex experiences, but the UIs in them are so much more detailed and stuff everyone loves their small text that's far away, and so unless you have perfect vision, well, good luck. You're kind of screwed. Like, there's this Layers of Fear VR. I got to look at the Rift version, but I tried it on the Quest and it works okay, but the problem is they do this like snap turning, and they have this vignetting where when you move, it like blacks out the edges of your view. You can turn that off, but I can't read their damn tiny menus to adjust the settings, so I can't do it. And it is on the Rift, and so maybe just looking at the monitor, at least I'll be able to play it that way. But I'd love to be able to do it wirelessly on the Quest. But I can't even see to adjust the settings, so it's super frustrating. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm just getting more irritated because I'm part of XR Access. There's a lot of people that are talking about it, and I guess I'm just more frustrated because talking is good, but there's only so many times we can say yes, accessibility is important. These are the things that we should do. But no one's actually doing anything yet. I mean, we're not. I mean, they probably are, but we're just not seeing any. Even if we're not fully there, like I would take. Right now, I would be at least somewhat happy if one of these platforms did what Sony did with their PS4. Yeah, their PS4 is frustrating as hell because you go into a menu level deep and then text-to-speech goes away. But at least they have a start of a framework there. Xbox has a much better implementation of that, and I would love to see that level come to these VR platforms, but I don't know when we'll see it. I mean, it has potential. There are people looking at it, thinking about it, trying to advocate for it. But, I'm just impatient, I guess. And it's not because I don't like it. It's because I want it to be cool, because I do like it. I do love VR. That's the problem, is I want to like it, and I don't want to have to wait, another 5 years or whatever it's going to take before we start seeing some of this. I just want to make, because navigating around those dashboards and experiences, a lot of them are frustrating at best and impossible at worst a lot of the time. So enough about Facebook Connect. Our last topic for this another long video was Sony's presentation, and thank God, all this speculation and playing chicken and just like, would you announce the damn price and release date already? All that crap can stop. Finally. Yes, we finally have a price and release date for the PlayStation 5. Or PlayStation 5's, because we have a digital edition and a disc edition. And the prices are quite comparable to Microsoft. They're not bad. $399 for the digital version, and $499 for the Blu-ray edition, for the one with the actual disc. And that's not bad. I mean, the high end, you got the Xbox One X, or Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and the PlayStation 5, the disc one, are both the same price. And the digital one for Microsoft is $299. Or no. Okay, yeah, never mind. I was overthinking something. But yeah, no, I mean, $399, $499 for the PlayStation. So you know what? That's really not that bad. I don't know. I don't know what the storage on the digital edition is. I hope maybe because it's a little bit higher than the Microsoft digital edition, I hope they give users maybe a 1 terabyte drive, because if you're digital, you're going to be downloading everything anyway, so why in God's name would you give somebody a 512? Because like I said, you're going to fill that thing up with 3 or 4 games. I mean, God, you download a Call of Duty update and it's like 125 gigs a time. So, yes, we have a price and release date, and the release date is November 12th. So Xbox is November 10th, PS5 is November 12th, and November 19th in some other areas of the world, like US and Japan and a couple other countries are getting it on the 12th. And then some other places are getting it on the 19th. So, good, we don't have to speculate that. We don't have to go, well, if they do this and Microsoft does that and da-da-da. Like, I was so sick and tired of hearing all that stuff. So, thankfully, good, we're done with that. But Sony's presentation today was, quite good. They just showed game after game after game. There was very, very little talking. You had a couple developers talking for like 30 seconds. But otherwise, it was, they showed a lot of gameplay. We're going to get, the Spider-Man game is going to be launch. Demon Souls is going to be at launch. We have Ratchet and Clank is going to be launch window. Deathloop looks really, really cool. I hope that comes to PC as well. That would be great if it did. I don't know if it's going to. There was talk of a Harry Potter game, and now we saw it. It is Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm kind of interested in that. And then I also heard via Twitter after the presentation that is coming to PC as well. So, yeah, again, my first console upgrade for this next generation is going to be getting an RTX 3080 system, and then I'll be able to play a lot of the Microsoft stuff. I'll be able to play a lot of the Sony stuff. But if I guess I would probably, next gen, if I was going to get a console, I would probably go for a PS4, simply for the fact that, not because of accessibility, but because Microsoft first-party stuff is also going to come to Windows, and there's no real guarantee that Sony stuff will. And you're going to have things like Naughty Dog stuff. You're going to have things like the God of War teaser that they ended the presentation with. You're going to have Ratchet and Clank that is exclusive. You're going to have a lot of things, a lot of exclusives like that. And if Deathloop is exclusive, I don't know if that's a PC thing or not. But, there's just a lot of like this single-player, big-budget game stuff that's coming to the PlayStation that may or may not come to PC, where I have a lot more confidence in the Microsoft stuff that it will. Microsoft's got their Game Pass and their Game Pass Ultimate, which is a really compelling deal, and Sony has its first-party exclusives. But they did announce in their presentation that they also are having an addition to PlayStation Plus, where it's kind of a greatest hits of PlayStation 4 titles that you're just going to be able to get at no extra cost as a Game Plus subscriber, or a PlayStation Plus subscriber. So I know there's a Last of Us was on there, Fallout 4 was on there. They just flashed through a whole bunch of different current gen games. So that's not bad. I mean, it's still not as good as Microsoft's one, because what I like about them is that they're going from original Xbox all the way up to Xbox One, whereas it seems like this PlayStation Plus thing is really just going to be PlayStation 4, at least to start with. I mean, Sony's got so dang many games in the PlayStation 1 and 2 era that, I mean, they could make a killing if they just offered a service where you could get even a lot of the greatest hits from those generations. Boom, there'd be so much stuff in there. But yeah, I mean, so you got Spider-Man Miles Morales is a launch game. You have Demon Souls is a launch game. You have Ratchet. You have the Harry Potter thing next year. God of War teaser for theoretically next year. Final Fantasy 16, which just looks like some crazy... I think somebody on Twitter compared it to like Game of Thrones or something weird. That looked interesting. But I mean, they were showing probably a good 10 games or better. Just actual gameplay demos. There's a Devil May Cry 5 remaster sort of a thing, or updated version for the PlayStation 5. The Village, Resident Evil, that looks really messed up. I'm sure that's going to come to other platforms, so I'm not worried about that. I'm sure that'll be on PC. But if it's another first-person game, so if Resident Evil 7 is any indication, that's going to be one messed up, but cool game. Looking forward to checking that out. But yeah, I mean, they just showed, they had a Call of Duty segment, which, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looked fine. It looked like an action movie, but I don't know. I've just fallen away from the Black Ops and Call of Duty games. So, it looks fine, but it's nothing I'm going to run out and grab, but it's on multiple platforms as well. But there were a few cases where at the end of the trailers they said console exclusive. So that would lead me to believe if they specifically say console exclusive, not PS5 exclusive, it appears to me that some of these may in fact also, they might be pulling a Microsoft and also letting their stuff come to PC. I know we got a news story about a week or two ago where we heard that Sony was actually considering doing that. And I touched on that in my last video. It's just the only thing is, I don't know if they're going to do what Microsoft does and say, hey, you get it on PC and console the same day, or if they're going to do what Sony did with Horizon Zero Dawn and go, okay, you get it on the console now, and then the PC will get it a year or two later. I don't know. But, like I said, there's a lot of interesting potential there. So, yeah, I mean, these consoles are pretty much computers now anyway. So, especially with the specs, and I've seen a couple reviews of the RTX 3080 on YouTube earlier. And, yeah, it's apparently living up to the hype. They claim double performance and all kinds of other big improvements, and so far it seems like it is killing it. They're pretty much not blowing a lot of smoke at us. It seems like these 3080s are kind of doing their thing. So yeah, I'm gonna have to upgrade my rig at some point because I really want to play RTX games. I really want to play Quake RTX. I really want to look at Minecraft RTX and just some of those other games that I know are coming from Microsoft and potentially Sony. Yeah, I want to play them. So, yeah, it's been another long video, but God, like I said, when I started the video, I totally forgot that even Apple had their event yesterday. Like, there's just been so much stuff. But that catches you up with the current September events, but we have a lot more to come. Starting, probably right about now, if not already, ID24 is kicking off. Inclusive Design 24. That's where I did that VR presentation in 2017. Follow ID24 on their YouTube channel, and you can watch them live. You can watch the archives when they're done. So I'm going to check out some of those, I'm sure. I'm sure there's going to be some good sessions there. Theoretically, I heard that Cyberpunk may have another event either tomorrow or Friday. I forget which. I can't even keep straight anymore. Nintendo is going to have another Indie Direct tomorrow morning, apparently. Show some more Switch indie games. I'm not going to do a separate video for those. But the main thing I want to know about Cyberpunk is officially, I know there's people that are, they're pretty much guessing, but like, I just want to know what are the PC system requirements officially. I want to know for sure, because I want to know if I can actually play this damn game before I upgrade my rig. If I don't get it, if I'm not able to get a system with a 3080 in it for a while yet. So there's that. And then, if you are following this channel, you are probably into games and accessibility. So for the love of God, it is free this year. It is online this year. I would definitely encourage you to sign up for and attend the Game Accessibility Conference, GAConf 2020. It is September 28th and 29th. We get 2 days of goodness this year. And they were posting as they were updating their schedule. They were tweeting all these different events, and so many of them sound really interesting. I'm going to be glued to my computer or tablet or whatever I decide to watch this thing on for those days. And they just announced their last event. Now they have all of them scheduled. And the last event that they announced was a session from the guys at Naughty Dog talking about The Last of Us 2 and its accessibility, and especially the blind accessibility. And oh boy, I cannot wait to... that's going to be a really interesting session. I can't wait. It's a couple of weeks out yet, but it'll be here before you know it. And yeah, I'm super excited. I'm just going to be attending that thing, the whole thing. Don't care. All 2 days. So definitely check it out. It's free. It's online. Anybody can attend. So check out the Game Accessibility Conference. And, until I'm sure Apple will have another iPhone event in the next month or so. So that'll be another thing. I mean, it's just the events just keep on rolling. They keep on coming. So that is where we are. That's an update. Some of my thoughts on the recent events and announcements and hardware and software releases and all kinds of shenanigans. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And for those who have, thank you for the subscribe. And you can also follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. I post quite a bit there. IllegallyCited.com for all my other projects and such. And of course, twitch.tv/illegally-cited. I think that about wraps everything up. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. But yeah, we'll wrap it up here. And until next time, I will chat with you guys again later.